Welcome, race fans, back to Pit Stop TV. I'm Emerson R, and I'm joined with Noah Carmichael and Joe Donahue with me as my co-commentators, Trey Shuttlesworth, continuing the amazing work on social media. We join you here in the middle of our iRace of Remembrance broadcast for Operation Motorsport. 2 hours in, 4 hours to go. The number 44 BMW CCA Club iRacing BMW is leading overall and in the open class, and Resilience Racing Esports number 7 entry is leading in the pro and beneficiary category. Battle for second going on right now, and just want to ask us, Joe, what have you kind of seen from your hour on broadcast? What have you kind of enjoyed, or maybe not so much?
Well, I think that everybody's out there racing very clean right now. Obviously, there's a couple miscues here and there from these drivers, but generally speaking, everybody's keeping their nose clean and running very smoothly. It's only the beginning stages of a very long event, obviously an endurance race with driver switches and whatnot. You don't want to be the guy on your team to make the mistake that takes you out of contention, and a lot of these guys and girls know that, and they're going to be just trying to keep the car on the track, trying to keep it clean, because we're only 2 hours into this race, and so these guys and girls are going to be pushing really hard to make up time, but at the same time they're not going to be hopefully at least they're not going to be running off track and running into each other. So I've been really happy to see that everybody's staying pretty patient, but at the same time we have had some really awesome battles. We've seen a couple cars come up through the field over the course of what's already gone down, and hopefully over the next 4 hours as we close in on the ending of this one, we continue to see clean yet exciting racing like this.
Yeah, it's kind of the nature of the Sebring International Raceway. It's a very interesting track to run around. Just the fact of the bumps, a lot of the WEC teams will come here and they use the 12 hours of Sebring. Back when ALMS went here, they would come here for the 12 hours of Sebring and use this as a testing ground and they get ready for the 24 hours of Le Mans, because a lot of their eyes, 12 hours here with how aggressive this circuit is the equivalent of 24 hours at Le Mans. So if you look on YouTube, you can look up and see videos of Audi back in their heyday would come down here to Sebring and test their LMP1 cars. It's also just a very historic circuit that brings a lot of history with it. It is a part of the Triple Crown of endurance racing along with Daytona and Le Mans. And also just the fact it's just a very historic circuit that a lot of drivers and fans come to love. It's kind of known as the spring break capital of Florida come race weekend. And it's a crazy fun place to be, and I can't wait to be there this upcoming weekend for the actual Super Sebring weekend for the closing weeks of the IMSA Championship. If you also want an idea of just how historic this track is, you can look along the front stretch on the paddock. They have an entire list of all the years and the make of the winners of each of those years. And one of those, you might remember from the famous movie Ford versus Ferrari, 1966, Ken Miles won here with the Shelby GT team. He was part of his Daytona win. They didn't exactly show that in the movie, but again, he won here, and it's on the history. So a lot of big names have won here. A lot of big names have come through these doors, and it's going to be an incredible race as we still have over a little under 4 hours to go in this race before we call it a race. So there's still a lot of racing to go and a lot of chances for a lot of these drivers to make mistakes.
On screen right now, we have a huge little group of cars. It's huge and little contradict themselves, but a group of cars here that's currently heading on to the back straightaway. I guess that leads all the way down to Sunset and then back to the start finish. And we still have this battle for second going on overall and in class. Fish and Sim Racing and Swarm Racing 3 going at it, the 5, BMW and the 20 still duking it out. And this has been a close battle pretty much from the start. And it's good to see that these battles are able to be sustained as we enter the third hour of this race. Generally in 6-hour races or endurance races in general, it starts to get really strung out, and I think we've been blessed to see kind of at least on the IMSA side of things or sports car racing side of things in real life, that they've been kind of more there's been more substance to the battles, I guess, as like in 24-hour races. It's just insane to see some of these battles. But again, this is a 6-hour, and it would be much more likely to have close battles through a 6-hour. Of course, still a long race, but much less time to kind of overcome mistakes and overcome maybe just kind of riding around. So 6 hours between 2 or 3 drivers, just absolutely pushing the limits of these GT4 cars is what's displayed here for 6 hours around Sebring, which used to be the Hendrick. Well, it's currently on a portion of Sebring Regional Airport, which used to be the Hendricks Army Airfield, which was a World War II training base for the Air Force. And yeah, it's been phenomenal to watch these battles.
Yeah, absolutely. Emerson hit it on the head really well right there. This is a long race, obviously not a 24-hour race. It's not quite that long, but it is long enough that it's an endurance event for these guys and girls. They're still trying to They're still trying to get through the early stages of this race. Like we said, 6-hour race. We're only two hours in. Nonetheless, I want to build on what he said about the Hendricks Air Force Base, because it would be fitting that an airport that was initially an Air Force base be the host of Operation Motorsports event here, because Operation Motorsports is a foundation set out to help veterans of the armed forces rejoin into their communities and to support them through the reintroduction to our normal society and lifestyle after being a part of the military, and to give them the opportunity to grow and be okay and feel safe and feel accepted when they come back. It's a tough thing to overcome for the members of our military when they come back into our society from PTSD experiences that they've had, shell shock from things they've seen and done, and that's a hard thing, and it takes a lot of lives. Unfortunately, we talk about 1 in 22 armed forces members when they come back. It's something that we need to work on, and we want to help those people, and that's what Operation Motorsports does. Is they give those guys and girls, when they come back, they give them a chance to be a part of a team and to learn skills and to build a career in with mechanics and racing. So it would be fitting that a track that was at one time an Air Force base be host to this event that we're staging, or they're staging, that we are very blessed to be a part of and broadcast to all of you, to remember them and to spread the word, spread awareness of the things that the veterans that come back from war have to experience. And that's what's really great about this event too, is what it means outside of, oh, we got a car off track as I speak. But yeah, it's just what this race means.
Yeah, it's one of the fun things you see now. We have a car off track. That is the number 7 machine. He has opted to tow it back to the pits. That is Resilience Racing East, which is piloted by, well, not anybody anymore. He's gotten out of the car as they're going to tow that thing all the way around, as you see him going through the bends here. And yep, just bumps, catching him off guard. Oh, wow, that was a hard hit into tire barriers there. And my best guess is how realistic the damage model is on these cars. That has broken the passenger front wheel on that, and he had to tow it back. You're going to see a replay here. He's going to come through here. Not sure, I need to look up the corner names, but the IndyCar teams actually test around this part of the track, and it's a very bumpy part. I was able to be in here to watch it. It's a very bumpy part of the track. You see these Indy cars almost go airborne a little bit with some of the bumps they hit in that section of the racetrack, and it just knocks him off the circuit, and now he's in the pits as the race moves on. Currently being led by the BMW CCA Club in the number 44, being piloted by Kalish in the open class, then Murphy on behind him, and completing a BMW sweep of the top front with Fission Sim Racing in the number 5, being piloted by C. Tucker. Sadly, iRacing doesn't show the actual first name, so I need to go look that up. But yeah, still early part of the race, 3 hours, 50 minutes left to go, but these guys are still racing on here, trying to get it in here to get, as they're now fully within the rhythm of what these cars are going to do. I was honestly kind of surprised that a lot of people did choose to run the BMW in comparison to the Porsche, because I own both these cars. The Porsche is a little bit looser, but the BMW, I'll admit, is a lot more planted, but offers a lot more understeer. So I was a little bit surprised to see this. Obviously, their setup might be different to what I'm used to, but I was surprised that we see a lot more BMWs than Porsches in this race when I first started watching when the race started.
Absolutely, Noah's correct about the handling of these two cars, and over the course of a long-term race, it's up to the drivers, more specifically, whether you want the Porsche with the mid-engine, a little bit more oversteer and less frontal surface area, or the BMW, which more frontal surface area but more understeer throughout the course of the race. And it's a trade-off that drivers specifically are gonna want. But from experience, whether or not you want oversteer or understeer, oversteer burns up the rear tires, understeer burns up the front tires. So it's interesting to see which of those two hindrances these guys figure that they'd rather have over the course of the race.
Absolutely. As we begin to now over about the 349, you see a big group up of cars heading through there. It looked like there's actually a car off track over in turn number 1. I was looking at the leaders. It looks like he might have gotten it going. But regardless, we're still racing here. As you look on that 3-car battle, as the position for the fight for P2 still raging on, as you now looking at Michael De La Sala, a part of the Whiplash Racing team. He's a part of I believe the Whiplash Racing Purple. That's Tyler Langenberg, actually. So he is piloting, yep, the Whiplash Racing Aqua. He is 10th overall in the field, driving in the open class as he's trying to chase down the 718 RRE AOA Racing machine, who's actually right ahead of him. So this fight going on here for the 9th position is actually starting to heat up a little bit, as Michael De La Sala is actually going to try and chase down the pole sitter of today's race in that number 718 as they get ready to come through Le Mans, heading down towards the back straightaway.
Yeah, so Adam Poppenhaus right now is currently in the car to 718 that had a huge advantage coming into the first round of pit stops. Chris Walsh drove that 718 to a pretty big advantage, and then all of a sudden the pit stop happened, and maybe there was some miscoordination on how the driver switch goes down or something to that nature, because Adam Poppenhaus retook the car, came back on track, and once the pit stops were all said and done, he was in about 12th position or 11th position, and so he's been on a climb since then. I think Michael De La Sala was just one of his most recent drivers he's just gone and overtaken. I think Andrew said on the beginning of the broadcast as well that at least he thinks that the Porsche is a faster vehicle, and I haven't tested the vehicles myself to know exactly which is, but that being said, a lot of the drivers did opt for the BMW. I mean, it is a slew of BMWs across all 22 entries. It is a massive amount of BMWs, and I think part of that is driver comfort for a 6 hour. Maybe you don't necessarily go for top speed when you choose your car, and that's definitely a difference, and especially in what kind of drivers are going to be in the car, how much road racing experience do they have on iRacing, and all of that. So from what you two have seen, what car would you maybe prefer in partaking in maybe an endurance event of 6 hours or so?
Well, for me personally, obviously, well, maybe not obviously, this is something I haven't really shared with my time at this time, but I am a big-time Porsche guy. My family owns Porsche 914. I've grown up loving Porsches, and so I think from the coolness factor and for personal preference, I would pick the Porsche just for the coolness. But it's a driving style difference, like we've been talking about. And if you were going to talk about driving style, I almost think I pick the Beamer, because when you talk about oversteer versus understeer, I know I have said this already. It's a personal preference what gains and deficits you want to have in your car, but I like understeer over a long endurance race, because oversteer helps you, and I appreciate oversteer, but oversteer is much easier to get wrong, at least maybe for me, maybe not for everybody, but so if I'm going to have oversteer in a Porsche over the long term of this event versus understeer in a Beamer over the long term of this one, I would pick the Beamer for driving style, but obviously I think the coolness factor would outweigh that, and I'd probably go with the Porsche myself.
I had the chance to drive the BMW GT4. I bought it about when it first came out, and I've been racing it for a lot because the BMW GT4 series that iRacing has on its host, and I race this car a lot. At the start of a race, it's just a very understeery car. It's very planted. I will give it that. So I can see why a lot of these drivers chose to run it here at Sebring, because it probably goes over the bumps a little bit better than what the Porsche would, but I'm not sure about that. When I drove the Porsche, I had some instances of it oversteer and just being able to lose it easily. I'm not sure exactly which one I'd choose. Like I said, I am also a Porsche fan, just like Joe. I prefer it over the BMW. But even though I own the BMW GTE MA car, which is also a really good car, but still, I mean, you can't beat Porsche. You look on that wall, you see a lot of Porsche wins that have come here at Sebring. They know how to get it done here, so I wouldn't have to argue that these Porsche cars probably can handle Sebring just as well. I mean, heck, they're running up there in the 9th position, so they're still running up there, even though they're swallowed up by a good group of these BMWs. The next highest rating one will be 6 with the Jim Pop Racing 42 team. So, yeah, Porsche knows how to get it done, and I would be very aware to watch these guys maybe try to tear their way to the field and bring an upset for the Porsche camp.
Right on, and now we are joined with John Winker and Kirk Dooley, the co-founders of Resilience Racing. And I first want to start off with, how are you two gentlemen today?
Doing great. How are you guys doing?
Oh, well, we're fantastic. Just, kicking back and watching the action here at Sebring. And Kirk, how are you doing?
Looks like Kirk might be having a headset issue right now. Hopefully he can get that sorted out here in a second.
All right, well, fair enough. And John, I first want to ask, have you been in the car today yet?
I have not. I should be in the next stint here in the RRE1 car.
Well, how have operations gone over in that team as far as this race goes? Right now they're sitting 17th overall.
Yeah, we were actually doing pretty good. We had a little mishap a couple laps ago and had to get towed back in, so we got a little bit of catch up to do, but overall we're not doing too bad.
That's fair enough. I believe actually, yeah, we did see that the meeting of the tire barrier on broadcast.
Yes.
That was rough. But all right, I guess more now to Operation Motorsports, and what is Resilience Racing's part in Operation Motorsport kind of done for both parties?
Well, one sec. I just wanted to check if Kirk, did you get your mic back?
I think so. Yeah, just had some
Awesome.
technical difficulties, so forgive me on that one, but glad to join this, and thanks for such an epic day.
Awesome. Yeah, so Resilience Racing, I actually found out about Operation Motorsport just as Operation Motorsport was turning up their venture into iRacing. So Jason was just starting to play around with the idea of creating a league, and through their social media channels I got connected with them, and Resilience Racing at the time just had missed our first race due to the current pandemic that we're in, and iRacing we were turning to. We had done a couple events with couple endurance events with some other leagues, and the Operation Motorsport one caught our eye because it was specific to veterans, and we definitely knew we wanted to be involved with that. So we've been with them pretty much since their formation of their iRacing venture, and been happy to continue with them. It's been incredible what they've been able to put together with this. It's been great.
So as far as the iRacing side of things, how has it been kind of getting acclimatized to iRacing? Has it been maybe an easy process, or has it been rough to try to trim out the glitches in the system?
It's been easier for some than others. We've got some pretty well technical people in our group, and we've leaned on them for a number of reasons to help with just the overall user interface and getting people set up with the right equipment and computer settings just to get in, which is one piece that we don't necessarily have to deal with too much on the real road race side. And then as far as like the transition from real road car to iRacing, that's kind of been hit or miss with some of the drivers. Some of the drivers adapted really well to it, and others, it took a little bit longer for them to get up to speed. But overall, I mean, iRacing has always been something that we were looking at as a tool to help develop our drivers, especially as part of our programming where we're looking to develop hand controls. We actually wanted to develop those hand controls to first be used within iRacing and then be fitted into a normal car, so drivers could actually learn the car that they're driving on within iRacing, and then jump into the real car and have the exact same hand control set up, so that it would make that transition easier for them.
Right, I was actually just looking at that on the website, and so what is the process, I guess, been to kind of help out with the hand controls? And I know it's different for sim to real life, and so I guess what would be kind of, I guess, the differences between having to make them for a sim as opposed to real life, and what are the difficulties that go into that?
Yeah, Kirk, you want to try to jump in on that one?
Well, sure. I think one of the underlying goals for resilience when it comes to the real world innovation and engineering piece is to create hand controls that are racing specific and allow you to utilize a manual transmission. That way you're able to stay grassroots, that your Mustangs, your older BMWs, things like that that do not require special transmissions and will last for endurance racing. Keeps the cost down and everything. But when you start to enter that requirement again, the ergonomics change radically from what's out there, what's available. So when we think about the conversion for simulator racing, there's a few devices out there. Fanatec has some analog paddles that will allow throttle and brake control, those sort of things. So you can still get active right now, which is such a benefit of the virtual world. But we are still looking to innovate an actual hand clutch for a shifter that will help bring together those ergonomic differences, what we're trying to do with the manual transmission.
I think that is really cool in order to give these drivers the maximum experience they can have when it comes to wheeling a race car around a circuit like here at Sebring. And I know it's on the sim, and I know it's not the same as doing the roar in real life, but what does it kind of mean to y'all to kind of be participating in an event at Sebring, which used to be a World War II airfield for training for the Air Force?
Well, I think it's an incredible opportunity to be able to do these things that are so realistic. I mean, while there might be some learning challenges between going from real world into the sim, there's no question that it's one heck of a trainer for everyone, and to be able to experience iconic tracks like this in such realism, you can't beat it. And really, when we think about once we've gotten some of these more specialized hand controls outfitted, it will be crucial to spend a lot of time, on iRacing, just putting in the reps, getting that muscle memory down for all those unique hand functions. But nonetheless, to be part of a race like on this weekend with the race of remembrance, very cool, especially doing it at a track like Sebring.
Right, and then so just one final question: with your 3 entries, and right now, I guess the second entry right now running the highest in the running order. What's kind of the game plan to get yourselves back into the race and seek out the maximum position you can kind of get out of today's race?
So we technically have 4 entries. So the AOA RRE car is actually one of our dual entry cars, and then we do have 3. So we have 3 total entries in the pro beneficiary class, and then we have a 1 open entry. I mean, strategy right now for the most part across most of the teams is pretty much the same: maximize laps on track and as few incidents as possible. The drive-through black flag penalty is not that hard to get hit with out here. When you get into a little bit of traffic and accumulate a couple 4Xs and then drop a tire or 2, and it's pretty easy to rack up those 15 incidents and easily get hit with the stop and go, which is pretty detrimental. So I think just clean races and keeping as many laps as we can is really the strategy for most of the teams right now.
Right on. Well, I thank both of you gentlemen for joining us on the broadcast today. I hope you continue to enjoy the coverage and the racing that is out on track in this iRace of Remembrance here with Operation Motorsport. Once again, just want to thank John Winker, Kirk Dooley joining us, the co-founders of Resilience Racing. And thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Right on. And yeah, so Resilience Racing, I guess I have to get updated on that. So the number 718 Porsche from Resilience Racing is a co-entry with Resilience Racing, was having a great run, as we now said a couple times on broadcast. And so right now they're in 10th. They've actually fallen back behind the number 77 Whiplash Racing Aqua, and Not entirely sure if this is because of maybe popping out, maybe pushing the tires a little too much, maybe regain some of the time lost, or De La Salle's just been absolutely phenomenal at holding on to those tires.
Well, yeah, De La Salle has been doing a really good job with the Whiplash car, but the RRE AOA number 718 here that you're seeing, when we were talking with John and Kirk, the car actually looked like it was maybe falling off. The tires starting to fall off on that car, and it was starting to become a little bit more of a handful to put that Porsche on the racing line and keep it clean in the corners. So fell back a little bit there, and the number 77 got through. As we were talking with John and Kirk, it was really nice to have them in here and talk on behalf of not only obviously what we're doing with Operation Motorsport to help the veterans, but also the technical side of what they're doing to develop develop electronics and mechanical opportunities to put in cars for these guys to come out and race in the real world. And it's really awesome to see yet another application of iRacing in the real world is to try to develop technologies that you can use in cars, but do it on iRacing because it's obviously going to be a lot cheaper and easier to work out the intricacies and work all the kinks out of a system like that here on this program rather than actually creating it and implementing it in a race car in real life. A lot cheaper and quicker to do that. So for them to use iRacing as an opportunity, not only to develop driver skills, to develop team skills, but also to develop electronic and mechanical pieces that go into cars to help drivers who need hand controls rather than foot controls is really awesome to see, and it's really motivating that they're doing it with Operation Motorsport.
Yeah, it's one of the cool things about getting to do these league races is that you meet a lot of guys who do real life racing, throwing it back all the way to early March when we were covering the Lucky Dog Sim Racing series. A lot of those guys were almost all those guys were real life racers, and when we had the opportunity to talk to them, they had actually raced at a lot of the tracks that we were at, so they got to tell us a bit of what the differences were like and the challenges that they had switching over from real life cars that are racing to driving these almost the same cars. The GT4 came in later in the season. They did have a game course. The only car that's not in here that was in that series was the Audi TCR. So kind of based off the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge that's actually going to be here this upcoming weekend. It just kind of glances over the things of what these drivers face on a week-to-week basis when trying to come here. It's always great to talk to these guys and hear more and more of what they do to help either just regular people or even help the guys in these series to give them benefits and help them out to make their lives easier on a daily basis.
So we pick up with this battle for the 4th position overall, and a couple of guys we know. Tyler Langenberg, obviously driving the Whiplash Media number 78 entry, the Whiplash Media purple entry. So he's trying to chase down the number 70 Rocket Surgeon Racing entry, being driven by Dustin Burkhalter, one of the Operation Motorsports regulars in the series, and it's it got really tight through the center portion, but it looks like he's able to pull the gap on the straightaway into Sunset. Now we ride on board with Burkhalter, and he's running pretty much where he's been. He started 6th, and I guess our graphic says he's been as high as 4th and as low as 4th. But yeah, Burkhalter just continues to do a nice job of holding onto the car and kind of hold off Langenberg being pressured by him so much. He's actually opened the gap now. So maybe a little bit of fade on the tires of the Whiplash Racing BMW.
Yeah, we've been seeing that Whiplash car slowly trekking up through and making position in the order of this race. It's now got about 3 hours and 30 minutes to go. We hit that mark just as I started speaking on behalf of the Whiplash Racing Purple number 78 car. We've been talking about both of these guys over the course of this one. The Rocket Surgeon Racing car being very fast, and we've seen him just tick off the difference between him and the car in front of him, and he's still got a long way to go to catch back up to the number 5 machine right now, and obviously the Whiplash Racing car just in his mirrors, barely a second behind him. So we've been talking about both of them as contenders over the course of at least the time that I've been lucky to be a part of this broadcast. And over the course of, we still have 3.5 hours to go. You see lap traffic getting out of the way and letting the number 70 car by right now. It's two of the BMWs that we've been talking about are pretty strong right now. But yeah, you talk about tire wear, that's a big factor. You talk about fatigue, that's another factor in this race, and just getting through it. So these two, now they've spaced back out, but we're looking at other battles throughout the course of this one.
Yeah, there's also a fight going on back here, about a three-car fight starting to form up for the 8th position. The other Whiplash team, the number 77 Whiplash Racing Aqua, piloted by Michael Del Sala, he did get around like we said, he got around a 718. He also got around a 927 of Sean Knight. And Sean Knight has actually started to fall off the pace, and that number 718 of the Adam Poppenhaus is actually starting to close the gap on the number 927. So he's starting to close the gap on the 77. So Del Sala is part of the circuits opening up that lead over those two. But in some of the slower sections of the racetrack, you're really starting to see both the people behind him be able to close that gap up. So this fight over going for the 8th position is far from over, as right now Del Sala is trying to open up the length of the mirror. Meanwhile, the 927 is just trying to hold on to it. He's had a couple off-track excursions with trying to chase back down Del Sala after getting passed, and that allowed the 718 to catch up to him as they head now to that back straightaway, getting ready for the sunset bend. If you look on the inside, though, you do see the barriers there with the fence. That actually is the support class racing pits that they use, kind of the secondary pits. When the WEC came here last year for the 1,000-mile event during Super CB Runkin, those were the pits that they used. So there's kind of like a little bit of a Martinsville pits road setup here, where they use both the front stretch and the back stretch. Can't use both pit runners now to make their way down the front stretch as they get ready to complete their 68th lap of the event, as we're still almost closing in on that halfway mark of today's race.
Yeah, as Noah said, 68 laps complete by the overall leader, or I'm sorry, 68 laps started, 67 laps complete by overall leader. And yeah, it has been for what it's worth, and I know it's not a large field or anything like that, it has been a very clean first 2.5 hours to this event. And that's a good thing. We want to see all these competitors who entered, and of course entered this event with purpose, to honor veterans and remember and honor their service that remember them and honor the service that they have contributed to their country. And so that being said, we want them all to stay on track and finish this event. I know it can get difficult. Sebring is no easy track by any means. There's straightaways and all that, but there's a lot of low and medium speed corners that can really catch some of these drivers out. Track limits are not as so defined by grass as well, so there's some sections of the track where there's paved runoff that iRacing will give you a slowdown if you use too much of it. So a lot of challenges these drivers are going through, and for it to be a so far clean 2.5 hours is pretty remarkable. Only a couple incidents involving maybe 3 or 4 cars. As far as I can tell, there's possibly some we might have missed on broadcast, but it's looked pretty clean. There's still 11 drivers on the overall lead lap.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, we don't ever want to see our competitors falling out of races. We want good racing anywhere we go. But to be here, this race means more than just a race. It's more than just guys out on a track with cars running to be victorious. As you see, we're looking at maybe having a pass for 9th place right there. A little bit of a dive from the 7 move down to defend, but on his outside now. And maybe an over-under opportunity here out of the final corner. Yes, indeed. Poppenhaus puts that 718 down the inside of the 927. And that Porsche moves up, as I think the 927 might have been coming into the pits. Yes, indeed. So you move that Beamer into pit lane as he's going to come get some service for that car. This race, yeah, like I said and was saying, it means a lot more than just people out on track racing for victory. They're racing with a purpose. They're racing to raise awareness of the mission that Operation Motorsport is out here to do, is to raise awareness for veterans and to remember those who have fallen, help those who have come back into our society, give them opportunities with motorsport to build as a team, to make connections, and to learn other skills that they can use in their lives. So to see all of our drivers out on track, obviously some of them have had issues, have been in service to recover from incidents on track. Everybody's out here just to just to race for that. And I think that even if you're 3 laps down right now, you're still running laps, and you're still a part of something bigger than just getting out front and leading and winning races.
Yeah, obviously coming along with this, it's just a 6-hour event, so there's a lot to still be raced here. So a lot of them aren't really going to be trying to force the issue too much to try and get these positions, because again, a lot of these guys, like you're seeing right now, these guys are a lap down, so they have no real reason. You go here, you see the blinking lights as that number 522 saying, "Hey, move it, because I'm trying to race here." As he believe the car behind him is for position. Yeah, so there is a fight going on for the 13th position. But as long, yeah, so that's just a lap car in the way. So they're just trying to get around him so that way he can hold on to that 13th position. So he's not going to force the issue, because of the fact that one, he's a lap down, and two, there's still over 3 hours left of racing. So there's not really a whole reason to be sending dive bombs this early in the going, even though we still have a long way to go and we're only 2.5 hours in. So yeah, a lot of these guys are just going to try and keep it smooth, keep it straight, and just kind of bide their time and get in that rhythm so that way they can make it to that 1 hour mark. And then they might start seeing some incredible racing to finish out this event like we usually do see out of these guys on a week-to-week basis when we're covering their actual series.
Yeah, so actually what that was, that's actually third place overall they just passed, and I assume these drivers are on much fresher tires, or just the ante has been upped in a battle for position. These drivers are actually the battle for the second car 1 lap down overall. It's an inter-class battle, so as far as class positions, not much on the line, but still, battling for overall position, as here comes the Swarm Racing number 982 pulling up alongside the number 522 TÜV Autosport entry, Brock Hogan and Jared Roadheaver into Sunset. They go, and it is Roadheaver who holds on, but peeking back to the inside is number 522. Looks like the 522 looked like he was heading to the pits, but he'll try to clear back down the front straightaway, side by side, and drag racing. All this going on in front of third place overall. Tucker in number 5 Fish and Sim Racing entry, and this is great to see this kind of battling midway through a 6-hour race.
Yeah, Tucker's got to keep it clean here, but it is really cool to see this action on track right now. If he's the third place car and these guys who come in, got fresh tires, they're faster than him, he's going to want to make sure he doesn't get caught up in any disputes or issues with Porsches that he's got. But yeah, this race between those two, into that last corner, obviously that last corner very long here at Sebring, and that gives these guys an opportunity to do some over-under opportunities around it and try to make passes on each other both into and out of the corner, even in the middle of the turn, as you saw these two Porsches go here. Tucker got a little hot into that corner there, and saw him had to dive outside a little bit to avoid any scares of collision with the 522. You see him, he's holding on to these two, so he's keeping in their draft, which is something that strategically he's going to need to do here. 982 got right out of that corner there, so 522 back on his tail and putting pressure into the next few set of corners. Not going to make any passes quite yet, but we're picking up on some opportunities to draft and go down the long straightaways of Sebring's airport portion of the track, which will give these guys opportunities to battle again into the corners. But yeah, you look at the Porsches just gapping this 5 car in the higher speed section right here. So Tucker's going to try to hold on to this draft, which will help him gain time on second place on his own. But a nice little battle here going on between these two Porsches.
Absolutely. So they make their way down towards Sunset Bend once again. They're going to go side by side heading into those final corners, into the bumpiest section of the racetrack is what a lot of drivers think of. Respect the bumps here at Sebring, or else it'll bite you back, and that's what they're trying to do while fighting each other. They're going to protect the bottom. That's going to allow the 5-car to maybe swing around the outside. Not going to do it. You're talking about maybe just trying to let him race, or just the speed difference between the Porsche and BMW. It might just be he's kind of limiting himself back because he doesn't want to get involved in this, because one small move, he could be taken out of third place. Like we talked about, there's still a lot of racing left to go here today before we even get close to the checkered flag. So he's just saying, I'm going to let these guys race out, and if they wreck, then I'll pass them, but I'm not going to force the issue. Well, these two are fighting as hard as now we're starting to see the gap open up, but I don't think this is going to be over by a long shot between either of these two. Neither of them want to give it up a second, and they want to take this 12th position.
Yeah, of course, once again, this is an inter-class battle, but it looks like this 982 of the Swarm Racing entry looking to gap now on the TÜV Autosport entry behind. And Roadheaver's only about 10 seconds behind Brolsema in the number 10 Team Crashed entry. So about 10 seconds up the road, you'll find, yes, this number 10 Porsche. This could become the battle for 11th, and then if somebody makes a mistake ahead, it could be a top 10 overall. And there's still a lot of racing to go, and so anything is up for grabs, really. But if Roadheaver can really put together a nice run on Brolsema, and he has... actually don't have that information right now on what kind of tire life that Roadheaver has on Brolsema, but he has closed already a little bit. I don't know if this is sheer pace and or could be a factor of when each of the drivers pitted. Speaking of pit stops, should be coming up in towards the bottom of the hour in iRacing. No, should be what is it, the quarter of the hour, I'd say. Yeah, 17 minutes from now is the halfway mark of the race, and these drivers last pitted about 90 minutes in, so halfway should be a good metric on when we should see a good chunk of pit stops. We've had a couple already. Those are just alternate strategies. They're drivers pitting earlier, not trying to risk tire life, and just trying to go for what they feel most comfortable with. And on old tires, it can really get treacherous out there.
Absolutely, Emerson's right about that one. The 90-minute stint length is kind of the expectation. That's kind of like your long stint. That's going to minimize the amount of time you spend on pit lane. That's about as far as you can go. At the same time as that, we know there are a couple teams in the field focusing on hour-long stints, so they're going a whole 30 minutes shorter per stint, trying to keep the cars in better shape. Like Emerson said, tire wear is a big factor. When you run a 90-minute stint, those tires are going to be bald by the time you come get fresh ones, and that's going to definitely hinder your lap times. So either way, whether you're running the 60-minute stint or you're running a 90-minute stint, by the time you hit the 3-hour mark, which is the halfway point of this race, you either run 2 90-minute mark or either run a 60-minute length stint as well. That would be 3 60-minute stints versus 2 90-minute stints. But that would be an overlap where you would think 60-minute and 90-minute strategies would come in at the same time. Obviously, we've got plenty of cars running that have had issues or have gone off that strategy mark and are going to pit at different times. So those guys could be coming in at literally any given instance as well. But if you're running standard 90 or 60-minute length stints, you're going to be coming in about 15, 16 minutes. And that'll be interesting to see how that shakes up the order.
Yeah, so also to keep in mind, sorry about that. Something else to keep in mind is that while the number 5 of Tucker is running up there in third, trying to stay behind these 2 lap cars and not force the issue, he has to be careful, because what we haven't really talked about is the fight going on behind him, because that number 70 rocket surgeon machine of Burkhardt is starting to close the gap down. Last time I checked, let's see here on what time he's scoring, he's saying he has fallen back about a second, so it is holding consistent about around 6-7 seconds, but you can see him, that pink car, that is the rocket surgeon machine, and the BMW right in front of him, that is for third, and then behind him is the whiplash machine of, I believe that is Tyler Langenberg. So that fight for the final podium position is starting to heat up there. If that number 5 car opts to stay behind these two Porsches, along with that, he is making a couple mistakes trying to hold on to that car with a little bit of off-track instances, and that is allowing the number 70 to catch up to him.
And speaking of catching up, we're going to catch up with a driver who's been in the number 78 Whiplash Racing Purple entry. We're here with David Levine. And David, how are track conditions the last time you were in the car?
I mean, it's been, coming up on an hour and a half since I've been in the car, but, track was a little bit, it looks to be for Tyler, looked to be a little bit greasier than it has been. But it's at this point, it's the same conditions for everybody. But our number 78 Whiplash Racing Tucson Sound Art car's just been pretty good for us. It's I think Tyler and I are both struggling a little bit with the setup on it and just trying to dial ourselves into it. But we're definitely just running our strategy and running our laps and trying to just be there at the end.
Right. So I know you have a lot of racing experience in real life. Have you ever driven anything like a GT4 car, and can anything you've done in real life kind of be translated here to the sim?
So yes and no to answer all those questions. Back before I got out of full-time sports car racing at the end of the 2014 IMSA season, I believe it was, I ran the GS class, which is kind of what morphed itself into these GT4 cars. These GT4 cars are a little bit quicker than the cars that I was racing. We didn't have anywhere near the downforce that these guys have now and that we have in the sim, and we didn't have traction control like they do in the sim now. But Sebring is still Sebring. It's the same old racetrack that it has been for as long as God knows how long. But really, it's just been a lot of fun. So the biggest thing to take away from Sebring, and everybody says it, is you have to respect the bumps, and really that's just all you have to do. You pay attention to the bumps, make sure they don't unsettle the car right when you want to get back to power, or right when you want to grab an upshift or a downshift. You just really have to be conscious of where all the bumps are at this such great historic racetrack here at Sebring and Hendricks Field. Right.
So you've been racing with Operation Motorsports now the past few weeks. What does it mean to you to be a part of, in a way, be a part of such a meaningful organization? And what effect has it had on you, possibly?
It really, over the years through racing and stuff, both real life and through the sim, I've had the opportunity and the blessings to work with a couple really great charities. And the guys at Operation Motorsports are hands down one of my favorites. I really can't say enough for everything that they do. Both on and off the racetrack. I've had the pleasure of racing against one of their own in the IMSA series, in the Grand Am series back in the day. And then I've got a couple friends that are currently active duty. So when Andrew gave me the shout to say that it was, he needed me to run the Tucson Sound Art and permanent makeup and main car in this Operation Motorsports League, I jumped at the opportunity to do it and kind of race for my friends that are, like I said, current active duty, and more importantly to especially today to race on Remembrance Day for all those brave men and women who sacrificed everything for us to be able to do this today.
Yeah, that's hard to follow up. That was pretty powerful right there, and it's amazing that you have had these experiences racing and interacting with some of these beneficiaries, some of these people here at Operation Motorsports. That being said, anything maybe you plan to do in the future, maybe take it to another level with Operation Motorsports, or kind of things in limbo right now with
it's
what's going
definitely
on?
Something that's crossed my mind for sure. We've got a here with David Levine Racing and a little partnership with Whiplash Racing. We've got I've got a 1990 Spec Miata that we run in endurance racing, some Champ Car stuff, and some Lucky Dog Racing League stuff. And I think it would be a great opportunity if down the road we could figure something out with the Opmo guys and figure out how to get some of these truly amazing men and women that the beneficiaries of the series and of the charity. You know, be awesome to do something with them, even if, you know, even if they're not able to drive the car, if they're able to come hang out on pit lane and something like that. And you know, even if it's something as simple as holding the pit sign, that, you know, that's every little bit helps, and it means the world to us. That, you know, if we can give back some way somehow, then that's what we're gonna do.
That's that's great. I do hope this this comes to fruition a lot more, and of course, kind of in limbo, waiting, of course, what's going on in the world right now. So hopefully we can get back to it as a whole pretty soon. Back to this race, the strategy with you and Tyler. What's it been, and is the pit stop in the loom at about halfway? Do you have to get back into the car soon?
Yeah, I'll be getting back in the car in probably 10 minutes or so. I think I'll do the next hour and a half, and then Tyler will be back in the end. Last couple days I've been dealing with a stomach bug, so I've been kind of a little bit under the weather. So I wanted to, you know, I feel like Tyler's been a little bit more consistent than I have been so far today. So we figured that was going to be the best call. Is just, you know, kind of me to, you know, as much as I'd love to finish this race and be able to, you know, possibly go toe to toe with some of the quick guys, Chris Walsh and guys like that. I think discretion is the better part of valor in this case, and just you know, let Tyler do his thing at the end, and, you know, sit back on top of the pit box and hopefully be spraying that virtual champagne on the podium at the end of it.
That's for sure. There is plaques up for the podium, and that being said, what's the likelihood you can get this number 78 Whiplash Racing purple entry onto the podium here in the open class? Of course, top several drivers, actually more than 8 drivers, are all open class, top 9. So you have a lot of competition up there in the running order. Yeah, what's the likelihood you can catch these 2 cars ahead of you that have been battling?
I think right now the best bet, like you said, is to just let them keep on battling and burn their stuff up. Tire wear here is, you know, pretty much as expected for an old bumpy airfield like Sebring. It's pretty rough. I think my tires at the end of my stint were down to probably 75% life, and it was pretty tough the last 20 minutes for me. So I think our best bet's just going to be, you know, go out there, be smart, run all the laps, and, you know, I think we're on pace. We're probably a little bit quicker than the 5 car, the 70 car. They've been quick, and then they kind of fall back to us, and then they pull that gap back out. So I don't know if I'm not really sure if they're trying to manage the gap or not, but I feel like we're probably pretty much where we deserve to be right now. I know our teammate, they were having some I think throttle position sensor issues is what De La Sala was saying he was having. So you know, we're definitely doing what we can to carry this Whiplash Racing, Whiplash Media team. Yeah, a podium, we'd need a little bit of luck, but, you know, it's endurance racing, so you never count anybody out.
Right, so as we approach, well, now we have less than 7 minutes remaining to about halfway, so I assume you're going to be getting into the car pretty soon, as he said. And so I guess we'll let you get back to it right now, watching Tyler kind of work his way through lap traffic. That's actually one of my entries that he's working with. So hopefully he can get through there. Well, hopefully the space is given. That looks like that will be the case. So we'll let you get to it. Of course, thank you for joining us, David. And again, best luck to you in the second half of this race.
I appreciate it, guys. I'll do what I can to jump back in here after I get out of the car next. Thank you, guys.
Right on. Thank you. And that was David Levine, one of the drivers of the number 78 Whiplash Racing purple entry. That is right now 5th on the running order, and we've been focusing on that car obviously through the interview, but this battle for 3rd overall has really heated up. Actually working their way through one of the lap cars, the TÜV Autosport entry, and now going to go a lap down to these drivers. But the number 5 and the number 70 BMWs, they have really been whipping it around this track.
Yeah, we've been talking about Fish and Sim. We've been talking about Rocket Surgeon very fast, these 2 BMWs. And obviously they've got to worry about this Porsche with them right now to get around and put them a lap down and put them behind these 2. But yeah, Rocket Surgeon's been digging all day long. We've been seeing them come up and fall back through the field. And like David said, the gap closes and regains itself between the current number 5 position car, the Whiplash Racing purple machine, and the Fission Sim and Rocket Surgeon car. You know, these two are pretty evenly matched, I would say, the number 5 and number 70 in the long term of a run, and having them beside each other right now going to be hopefully giving us some exciting racing action on the track as they are fighting for the final podium position overall, which obviously 3 hours to go isn't really that big of a deal per se at this current moment in time, but any competitor you can put behind you is just going to allow you to make time up to the guys in front, and also just to build on that finish, because over the long term, even still, we are still racing for the end of the race, and we're racing towards trying to get onto the podium and even getting a win.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about before we started that interview. Is that fight was really going to start to heat up here. Dustin Burkhardt really closing the gap on Cameron Tucker again. Hogan in the 13th position, running up ahead in that Porsche, really going to slow down the number 5. Added on with some of the mistakes he has made in the last few minutes. He has held on to it, but it's just the fact that lap traffic is really starting to hold him up now to make his way back down this final straight before the start-finish line as they get ready for sunset once again. We're going to see if that number 5 can get around him. He's looking, but I don't think he's going to be able to make a move. It looks like he might stay behind him for another straightaway. No, he's going to make the move down to the inside and clear him. Now we're going to see whether Burkhardt can get it, and it looks like he will. No, he's actually going to stay behind him. It looked like he might be diving down to the pits, maybe. No, he's just going to get around him. Now the fight is still going to rage on there for the third spot if he can keep up with him now.
Yeah, I was just about to question Burkhalter coming through there. It really did look like he was trying to come to pit road, but possibly sliding over those bumps that you have alluded to, that they will bite you. That he was able to hold on, and that is great car control to hold on to one of these cars. Now looking to pile on the pressure once again on Cameron Tucker. I have to wonder, is there going to be maybe an undercut possibly out of number 70? We'll have to wait and see, obviously, next time round. But we are approaching that halfway mark. That is, I guess, the optimal time to make your second pit stop of the race. And starting to look to the left side now as we head into turn 7 here. The hairpin, the slide, the brakes. If these drivers are truly thinking about pitting now, that means there's been about 90 minutes of racing on a hot, slick track under tires. They are absolutely trying to find every ounce of grip out of those 4 tires, just hanging on, really, in some of these tighter and slower corners.
Yeah, this battle is really heating up, and it's interesting to see whether or not the undercut will happen. Like Emerson said, you don't think an undercut is as big of a deal. Ooh, maybe we got to focus on this pass right here. 70 looking down the inside. Not going to make that one work through the right-hander there, but still within the draft. So Cameron Tucker didn't let him by, but still has the pressure behind. Talk about that undercut. Pit stop strategy isn't something you necessarily think of when you think about an endurance race. Over the course of an event that's so long, the amount of time you spend on pit lane slowly deteriorates in importance. But an undercut now could mean getting that 70 car into third place, and we've talked about and seen it in the past with any form of motorsport. If you can make a pass and build a gap, sometimes obviously the hardest part of making up time on track is getting around your competitors, and even having a faster car than the team in front of you is if you catch up to the rear, it could be extremely difficult to make a pass. So an undercut could open the floodgates for the number 70 Rocket Surgeon car to gain time on the number 20 and 44 cars in front of him as he's looking down the inside into turn number 1. And it doesn't look like he's going to make that pass through this turn, but maybe if he can get a nice run off of the corner, he can come through this kink and look down the inside again. He's not going to quite do so right now, but yeah, it's just whether the undercut is going to make a difference in letting the number 70 car build a gap and try to run down the leaders, because making a pass is extremely difficult. That's probably the hardest part of gaining time on track.
And now setting up the run up to hairpin. That's what I was thinking. Maybe he might be able to get it done there, but going to 3, 4, and 5, he wasn't able to get the power down to get the run he needed. Now they're going to set up for Fangio. Cunningham is sitting in the collier as they get ready for the run to 10. Going to make it through this little switchback of the right-hander and left-hander of 8 and 9 here instead of the hard braking zone of 10. what Berghalter is going to want to do here is if he wants to get a chance at the pass, he's going to have to try and get through 10 through 13 as cleanly as he can, which is his top section of the racetrack, the very top end of the circuit. Set it up for Tower and try to get that run going off of this next corner. If he can get the run here, he might be able to get something done heading into Bishop. Or, yeah, he's going to get it done here because the 5 car went off track, spun the tires a little bit, so that will give him the opportunity, but still not close enough. But he might try and get something done. He's going to look for the pass. We might have something going on here as he head towards turn 15, as now the fight's starting to get on, as now he might try to back up this corner here to get ready for the wall.
Side by side are in the corner, but now they come onto the straightaway heading to Sunset, and it is absolutely a dogfight. The heavy defend down the straightaway, the block from Cameron Tucker. Here comes Dustin Berghalter up the right side, left side of your screen, side by side down the straightaway into Sunset. Who's gonna send it? It looks like they both kind of sent it, but they're still side by side. Passing halfway now in this 6th hour, and to still have a battle, I know I've said it several times, to still have a battle this tight after 3 hours of racing is insane, and it's an important battle. This is a battle for a podium position. The podium winners of each class, they will each get each driver in those 3 cars per class will each get a plaque, signifying that they did place on the podium here in the Operation Motorsport iRace of Remembrance. It needs to go side by side. Berghalter with the advantage into the corner, but Cameron Tucker the preferred line, and Berghalter will clear through 4.
That was some darn tootin' right there from the number 70 machine, and Berghalter was on it, and he knew he wanted to get around the 5 car as quickly as he could, but they were side by side for so long. It was actually impressive how long those 2 cars stayed side by side, and it also shows the class that the 2 drivers have and respect for each other, that they want to race cleanly right now. Cameron Tucker looking on the outside, the 5 car getting pushed out a little bit. That section right there is almost a single lane portion of the track, and it's hard to go side by side. So you see that Tucker lost out a bit there to the number 70 machine. It's just the nature of the beast, and that section of the course is very much a single lane. But the 5 car gain time in the middle of the corner there, dove in a bit, stays on the bumper of the number 70 Rocket Surgeon Racing machine that Dustin Berghalter is running right now. And the number 5, actually he's went wide through that corner, but I think we've seen that a couple times. That might be a strategy or just a preferred line through that corner for Cameron Tucker. And so, yeah, but it does build a nice gap to the number 70 car, who got about 2-3 car lengths in between now that he's holding on to 3rd spot.
Yeah, because of how much those 2 are fighting, that has allowed the number 78 Whiplash machine to Tyler Langenberg. He has closed the gap now. He's about a second behind, or about 2 seconds behind that number 70 Rocket Surgeon machine. Actually, number 5, I forgot. It has not updated because the passes don't have to start finish line. Yeah, he's about close to maybe a second or less behind the number 5 Fission Race machine of Cameron Tucker, as now they get ready to set off into turn number 17. If Langenberg can get the run off the corner, he might get the pass done, but that is going to give the number 70 Rocket Surgeon Racing of Berghalter a big run down the straightaway. He's going to open up that gap, as now the fight for the 4th position is starting to heat up, as Langenberg is going to be all over the mirror. You might see another pass on that number 5 machine going into turn number 3. It's a big send by the number 78 as he almost got the pass done to that corner.
I apologize there. We're just looking at drivers coming into the pit lane. Still a very, very tight battle going on here for 4th overall. And Langenberg, we heard David Levine's going to get back into this car. So what Langenberg's got to do is, get all you can, but do not damage the car. Do not force Levine to have to do more than just try to keep the car in its spot. They go side by side now into the hairpin, maybe. The squeeze from Tucker. What? Wow, Tucker doing his best. He's really trying to hang on to those tires. It looks like he's hurting by staying out longer, so I would expect Tucker, maybe of this trio, to come in first. He's looking like he's feeling the effects of the tire wear the most.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw how they were side by side. The number 70 and number 5 machine were side by side for so long, and they were racing each other so hard. That's the type of thing that burns up your tires quicker than the competitors who are behind. And the Whiplash Racing purple machine right now, that was what he needed. He needed those 2 to burn each other out a little bit more while he stayed clean, ran his line, and optimized the abilities of his car. and preserved it too, to have this opportunity now where he's caught back up to Cameron Tucker in that number 5 BMW. And maybe the car is slightly better. Obviously, you can see Cameron Tucker gapping him a little bit here at the current moment. But yeah, you talk about if you're going to burn up your car racing hard for third position and you fall back into the grasp of the number 78, who's in fifth right now, you'd think that the 78 would have the advantage.
Yeah, look back now to the fight going on for the 8th position between the really slow motion, as the pass has actually been done by the number 77 Whiplash machine of Michael Della Sala. There's a lap car right in front of him, so that is not for position, but that is going to tighten up this fight between them and Kurtz as they make their way up to turn number 10. The fight really closing in now. So both the Whiplash guys have a mirror full of another BMW trying to get the pass out as they make their way to the top section of the circuit, heading up towards Cunningham Collier Tower once more. The little trace section. What you'll see maybe through the screen here is once they get off of 13 down this straightaway, right outside of that area on their left-hand side, that is actually where the current airport is. So when you're at these events, you'll actually see from things such as just recreational planes to even big jumbo jet planes, whether those be maybe Air Force, like military planes, or even like a FedEx plane. They do come out of there a lot. So even when you're at the races, you will see those guys come out here. As out here comes that really slow motion machine with the run down the straightaway. It looks like he will clear him now going into turn number 17. So it is going to be the pass for the 7th position as they're still door to door heading into that corner.
Yeah, we saw 4th place driver Dustin Burkhalter. He brought the number 70 Rocket Surgeon Racing to the attention of his crew, and they swapped out drivers. Now put Paul Lindsay in the 70 as he tries to get back to work in the Rocket Surgeon Racing entry. We continue to duke it out here, but another entry into the pit lane. This is the Gen Pop Racing entry, number 42 Porsche, sitting on pit lane now, getting excess of 40 seconds of service, so possibly damage they're attending to, and now pulls off the pit lane. Smith taking over the control of the 42. We continue to wait for the top drivers that are still out here. Actually, 2nd place driver Swarm Racing's Sean Murphy into the pit lane. We'll see who gets into this car now. Actually, it should just be one other driver. And it's going to be Liam Redzitz getting into the number 20 Swarm Racing entry from 2nd position.
Yeah, so you see the 2nd place car coming into the pits, and we're going to see where the car comes out on track once he gets his service. But we just passed halfway, and we'll just give you a quick introduction. If you've joined us recently, welcome to Pit Stop TV. We are at the iRace of Remembrance, a 6-hour event here at Sebring. Emerson Arden, Noah Carmichael. I'm Joe Donahue. We got Trey Shuttlesworth on social media with us at the current moment as well, bringing you a race of remembrance that has more meaning than just a race. It's more than just drivers out competing on track. We are raising awareness for the mission that Operation Motorsports is taking part in, and giving opportunities to veterans coming back from serving in the military to partake in a team effort, be a part of motorsports, learn new skills, and also to obviously remember those we've lost, and bring attention to how hard it is to get our military veterans back into regular society, something that a lot of people who don't have direct military ties might not know a lot about. But it's really awesome what they do for the veterans, and we're really blessed to be a part of it as well. Here at Sebring, we just passed halfway, like I said, so we've been seeing some of the leaders who've been out running 90-minute stint lengths coming through the pits and getting their 2nd service of the race. We've seen some driver changes. The number 44 BMW CCA Club iRacing BMW has been leading the way for quite a while here. We'll see if they bring it into the pits, which actually, look at that. As I say it, they come down pit lane. So the number 44 team possibly going to do a driver change, but just going to service that car that's been very strong throughout the course of this race so far.
Yeah, and while you were going on with the update there, an incident that did happen was we had a switch for position, as the number 5 Fission Racing team has actually had a driver swap. They have put in, I'm going to try and find that name. It is Dean Cox. So that is their third driver on that team. A lot of drivers don't have a third. They are actually one of the, I believe, 6 teams that are running a third driver. But because of those few extra seconds it takes to get a new driver in the car, that has allowed, actually, no, so that was just a fast pit stop because David Levine, who we just talked to not too long ago, he has gotten back inside that number 78 machine. He came back out. Obviously, we talked about him. He has a little bit of real life racing experience, I believe, here as well at Sebring, so he actually knows how to get his way around here, be it not in a BMW M4 or BMW M8 GT4, but still he's able to get the jump on the number 5 in the pits, and that is going to boost him up to the, I believe, now going to be the 4th position, as yes, right ahead of them is that number 70 Rocket Surgeon Racing Machine. They have been taken back 3rd, so now it is going to be the top 3 is the BMW of the 44, who was already back out, the number 20 Swarm Racing Machine, and then running back in 3rd is going to be the Rocket Surgeon Racing Machine of, I believe, as I look through my list, that is Paul Lindsay inside that pink and black BMW as they make their way down the front stretch once more.
Just a reminder that at the bottom of the, well, at the top of the iRacing hour, we have the battle actually going on, so I'll actually get to it in a minute. Look at this. Side by side down the front straight away. They're passing the lapper there. That is, I can't really tell who that is. But anyway, Levine under heavy attack from Cox, and Cox will try now trail him through the through 3, 4, and 5. They'll head into the hairpin here momentarily. That's the next best passing opportunity, and if Cox feels he is definitely faster than Levine, he's going to want to get it done quick because Lindsay continues to open up a gap on the number 78. That's now gone from 7 to nearly 8 seconds. And it looks like Levine actually got the better run as they head into the hairpin. Now Levine will hold on. Oh, a little bit of a wheel hop there into the corner. That's going to allow Cox to pull up alongside, but Levine almost kind of helped himself there. Got him a better exit, kind of getting back to the throttle a little bit sooner. And he'll hold on at the moment to the 4th position there in that number 78 Whiplash Racing purple entry. And in about 47 minutes time, 45 minutes time, we will be switching over to our 3rd part of our broadcast. Andrew will be taking back over the production controls. He just got himself a little bit of break, get himself some lunch, rest up a little bit, and so he can take us through hours 5 and 6 through the end. And you won't want to miss it. Of course, stick with Pit Stop TV, with Operation Motorsports, iRace of Remembrance. Again, in about 45 minutes or so, we will be switching over to our 3rd part of today's race.
Yeah, so don't be sure to tune in and stick with us through that transition and stick with us over the course of that one. But yeah, as we've been seeing on screen, the Whiplash Media car and the number 5, that is David and Dean. They're 2 racing machines going hard at it, and they've been staying with each other for quite a while here. If you remember back, we saw the number 70 and number 5 cars battling each other, and that was an interesting little fight that they had. And the 5 car fell into the grasp of the Whiplash Racing Machine that got around him, and now they've stuck together and they're still racing really hard. 2 hours 45 minutes left in this one, but they definitely want to stay with each other.
Yeah, those two are, if they want to be able to have a shot in position, if the 5 wants any shot at taking back that spot, he wants to stay right on that tail of David Levine, because if he lets him get out to the lead, Levine will open the gap. He's a very quick driver behind the wheel, and he knows how to get it done. He will, as he is still holding him off. Back when he had Langenberg in the car, there was a little bit of a fight being put up there, as wow, the number 5 of Cox is actually going to go off a little bit, heading down into Bend. So that's going to allow Levine to open up even a further gap on the run up to the hairpin, past where the Sebring Hotel is, right there on the outside. Oh, a late send by Cox, not going to be able to do anything. I almost thought that was going to be a tailgate hit by the number 5, but instead he is able to avoid it, as now they get set up for turn number 10. But that was a very close call between the 5 and the 78, as they still rage on here in the 4th place position, which is allowing the number 70 Rocket Surgeon Machine of Lindsay to open up that lead as he tries to run down the number 20 Swarm Racing of, again, we'll try Ruzit, I'm gonna stick with that. He tries to run him down almost about a 30-second gap for that second overall spot. Now you're looking at another fight as they head across the start-finish line for the 8th position.
Yeah, very tight what's going on here between the S&S Motorsports entry and the Swarm Racing number 2 entry. Hunter and Nelson going at it. They were side by side, drag racing across the front straightaway as we work our way through turns 3, 4, and 5. Looks like Hunter's going to be opening up the advantage. Now we have actually another battle. Anderson under attack from a couple cars. One of them's a lapper, but I guess the 4th Resilience Racing entry in that number 718. Chris Walsh has retaken control of the 718, and Chris Walsh, oh so fast. He took that number 718 to a huge advantage very early in this race before the first round of pit stops, and then a miscue on their first pit stop sent Chris Walsh and Adam Poppenhaus back into the running order. So Walsh now tries to repair the mistake that was made. That lost him about a minute and a half, almost 2 minutes worth of time on the pit lane. And Walsh now, he tries to line up the pass on Trevor Anderson in the number 77 Whiplash Racing. Aqua entry now side by side. They'll go, and looks like the advantage goes to Chris Walsh easily. He'll have the preferred line. He'll clear into, is that 13? I believe that's 13.
Yeah, so you saw that pass executed pretty cleanly and efficiently for the 718. We'd be talking about how that car has been very good over this race, and obviously a 2 minute deficit from a pit stop. But we've actually, at the same time, we should jump up for the fight to in 4th place right now, the number 5 and the number 78. So that's Fishin Sim and Whiplash Racing Purple. Those two cars we've been talking about, they're connected at the hip right now. These two have been fighting it out pretty good, and actually number 5 got back around the purple Whiplash Racing machine. So Dean and David is still duking it out, but the positions have changed since the last time we checked in on them. So obviously we're going to bring that to you and show you the number 5 and number 78, who've been putting on a very good show for us in the last 15-20 minutes. They're still duking it out now. Dean's got a little bit of a lead over the number 78 machine right now. There's about 3-4 car lengths in between the two of them as they stand at this current moment in time. But Noah, like we've been seeing with these two cars, they've been gaining and falling and coming back together, passing each other. These two, certainly two cars to watch for excitement here in the middle stages of this event.
Yeah, while you were focusing on the fight back there in the midfield, those two were actually side by side going in through the hairpin. They were side by side from turn 1 all the way to turn 7, as those two have yet to really let off each other. They have now started to spread out a little bit of a lead, as Dean Cox is now going to start to try and lengthen that gap. Because of how much those two have fought, that has allowed the Rocket Surgeon Racing machine of Paul Lindsay to open up about a 10-second lead over the number 5 BMW. So he was very happy that those two opted to go out and put up a battle there for position, and that is going to allow him to have a little bit more breathing room. As is obvious right now, this fight for the 4th position is not even close to being over, as David Levine's going to put everything he has into that car to try and take back that 4th overall spot.
That being said, a lot more spots to be talked about back in the running order, and one of the spots we're going to talk about here is running 12th overall, and one of our pro beneficiary clash entries, number 10 team crashed entry. We're going to be joined with one of the drivers in that car, Fia Brolsema. And Fia, how you doing?
Great, how are you?
I've been all right. We've been all right, just enjoying the action. First, just want to ask, how are the conditions on track to you? What have you kind of seen, and what has changed over your stints?
Well, when I first went out, it was kind of definitely overcast and more cloudy, so that was kind of nice. It's kind of flat lighting. You can see all your references, but then as the sun came out and the angles changed, at one point I saw the DRS sign, and I thought it was the back of another car. It's just a little bit hectic with the lighting, but not actually that bad. So
it continues to get brighter as we travel more through the in-sim day, and I guess in the real life day as well, but in-sim is what's going to be affecting the lighting of the race. And of this race, the iRace of Remembrance, I know it's not the real thing or anything like that, but what does it mean to you to be taking part in such a big event and the meaning behind the event?
It's definitely has a lot of meaning to me personally. I went to the last 2 actual RORs, and I kind of, when you're at the event, you think, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to do this next year. And I started thinking, you know what, maybe I should drive next year. So that was kind of my plan for this year, is to get some seat time and actually work towards getting my license so that I could drive at the actual ROR this year. But the pandemic happens and other plans, but I'll keep working on it. I think this league has been a great stepping stone to get me some racing experience and work on my racecraft. So hopefully 2021 or 22, I can do the real thing.
Right. And that being said, I guess you said this is going to be a great stepping stone, but to what extent is running in an iRacing endurance race and running the Operation Motorsports races and all that how has that helped you kind of, I guess, set yourself up for when you ultimately want to, and hopefully you're able to do this in person?
I've definitely learned a lot from this league. Like, the only racing I had really done was a little bit of go-karting and then some Forza on Xbox, and not even against real people. So this whole league, and this is kind of the finale, is really helped me develop my racecraft and race against other people, and I think I've come a long ways. I forget the rest of your question, though, so hopefully that answers it.
I was just saying, how much or what is iRacing kind of helped you and kind of, I guess, mentally prepared you for when you try to do this in real life?
Well, it's definitely taught me patience. That's something that I definitely struggled with for the first couple races in the regular league. But I think I kind of learned that, and even as the tires are falling off and the conditions are changing, I just focused on the endurance racing style of kind of pick a reference lap and don't push too hard and hit your markers and keep your head down. And I think that really showed up in my consistency, and I think we're starting to reel down the class person ahead of us. So.
Well, yeah, I guess talking about the this race, you're currently 1 lap down overall, but there is 10 cars on this lap, so a lot of positions to be gained or lost, as this number 10 team crashed entry is right in the middle of that lap in terms of positioning. What is I guess the strategic plan to either improve that position or kind of hold station?
Well, I guess for strategy, we'd always be planning on doing 3 stops and 4 stints. Unfortunately, Chris got a little bit tangled up in traffic on the first couple laps, so we had to pit for a quick repair, and we tossed in a splash of fuel to make sure we'd have enough. So hopefully in the last stop, we can save a couple seconds by putting in just the right amount of fuel to get to the end, and maybe that'll help us gain a position or 2. But other than that, it's just keep pushing, don't risk the car too much, and see what happens at the end.
All right, so I'm going to, I guess, trail back a little bit. And your experience with Operation Motorsport, what is what have they been able to do for you, and how have they, what kind of an impact have they made on your life?
They have been so helpful through this transition process. It's always difficult to get medically released or any kind of release, but medical release is especially difficult. I was definitely quite a bit younger than most people when they get medically released, and I was a little bit lacking in direction. I didn't really know what to do or where to go. So it was great to take part in these activities and meet so many people and have awesome experiences. And because of that, I have a place on a couple teams now. Whenever they need me or whenever I want, I can go out and participate more. And it's definitely helped me become motivated and set some goals for myself. And so without this, I don't think I would have pushed myself to, do my master's program and all the other things I've been doing in the meantime. So it's been awesome.
That's phenomenal to hear. I'm very happy for you in that sense. What are some of the opportunities you get to participate in because of them?
Well, the biggest 2 for me were the race of Remembrance for the past 2 years. That's definitely the highlight of most of my years, honestly, because it's just such a bonding experience. The other activities I got to participate in was, well, the iRacing leagues, which are awesome, but even just racing weekends with new teams or teams that I've worked with before. Getting to go out and work on cars and watch cars go on a racetrack there's never a bad day at a racetrack. So.
I'll say it. I think we can all agree, as race fans, it's kind of magical to a race fan's perspective when you enter the track and the atmosphere around it. And I guess that being said, how has your, I guess, attraction to racing grown because of Operation Motorsports? If there was really even room for you to have attraction to grow.
Well, I always had a little bit of a racing bug, and in university I did the Formula SE team, and I got into that more on the design side and actually just making a really fast car. But it kind of died down as I finished university and then did the Air Force for a few years. So it picked right back up as soon as I got back into it, and it's definitely something that I crave when it's been a couple of months that I haven't been able to go out and do my own racing. So yeah, it's definitely enhanced it.
Well, right on. And so we're gonna, I guess you're kind of leaving your teammate out a little bit, having that partner there. So we'll let you get back to it. Thank you so much for joining us, especially in the middle of the race, and being able to talk to us about what this means to you and what you've been able to accomplish with Operation Motorsports and being a part of this iRace of Remembrance. So once again, thank you, Theo Brolsema, for joining us, and best of luck to you in the final 2.5 hours of this event.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to watching the broadcast later. So thanks. Sweet.
Thank you. And with that being said, we're going to move on to one of our picture-in-picture interviews with Theo Brolsema, and yeah, we'll take that away right now.
Hi, I'm Tiffany from Operation Motorsport, and we're here at CTMP for CTCC, first round of our Back to Racing with Theo.
Hi, everybody.
So I'm just going to ask Theo a couple of questions. As you can see, we are all masked up, and you'll have to pardon us. It's a little bit hard to breathe and talk at the same time. So, Theo, I know that you've done some track days at Calabogie. Can you tell me, how's it feel to be back at the track?
It feels really good. Just being here, competing again, I'm a pretty competitive person. So, Calabogie, the races were fun, but they're kind of like an intro to the season, getting warmed up again. This is the first real competition again. So we got a field of about 7 or 8 TCR cars, and it's looking like a good season for that. So,
what's the best part about being here today, this weekend?
I don't really know. No.
You don't? Nothing?
I don't really know. Nothing really comes to mind. I really like it.
It's just that whole atmosphere.
Yeah, the whole atmosphere, just being out of the house again. Yeah.
What did you do for the last 4 months?
I finished up my what school I was doing. Finished off my semester, and then I didn't do much. I went home. I worked on the Supra project car a lot. Way too much. Still not done, but whatever.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So, how has coming back to the track, or knowing that this is what's going to happen, how's it affected your mental health?
It's definitely been like a bit motivating. Kind of as a goal that I need to, keep working out, keep taking care of myself to get ready for this, so I can perform again. And it's nice to see that I am in a good place now.
So you're not tired or beat up or anything?
No, I can show up and do like 3 back-to-back 18-hour days, and I'm fine.
And you're fine. So, good. Yeah. So you've been with Operation Motorsport for 2 years now. Mm-hmm. If you can think back, I guess upon reflection,
yeah,
how has this helped you?
It's definitely gave me direction, and that's the biggest thing, I think. Because coming out of the military, I was really not sure of what I wanted to do. And even though I'm still not sure what I want to do, ever, it's definitely it gives me a way to learn and a way to progress in a meaningful way. Mm-hmm. And that's been really helpful.
So has it encouraged you to try new things?
Oh, definitely. Because of this racing, I started doing some go-karting last year, and I'm just about, right after this race is done, I'm going to go over to Goodwood and do a go-karting race there. And I definitely got into that because I was into this racing. Yeah.
What's the difference in your relationships that you would say within the team atmosphere here as to what it was like in the military?
It's actually really similar. Really similar dynamic. Actually, a little less swearing on the teams. The racing guys won't believe that, but it's true. And a little less professional here, but not professional. That's not the right word. A little less stuck up.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So the last question I have, for me, is what's the worst part of the day?
Waking up and no, I'm joking.
I agree.
The worst part about this weekend is that we had so much to do on Friday. It was like back-to-back sessions, 5 sessions in a day. And then Saturday and Sunday, it's like, get here super early in the morning, do your qualifying, and then sit around for 4 hours.
And do nothing.
So,
Okay.
it's a little bit of hanging out. I think I'm going to take the cart around to go explore and find some more friends and say hi, do that sort of thing.
So I have a question from Ron Tomlinson, and he
Okay.
asks, what drove you to join the military? He doesn't understand what would make you take that
Okay.
path, and everybody's answer is different.
Yeah, I'm going to have to think about that one for a little bit. I don't think there was any single defining moment or anything like that. I always liked aircraft and I liked flying, and from that came a kind of an obsession with the technical side of it. And so I did want to do engineering for a while. My whole family's engineers, but I also wanted to do something a little different. And right getting out of high school, I did a 5th year high school because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then I took a year off and did some other small-time jobs, and still didn't really know what I wanted to do, and kind of really wanted to get out of the house and get away from my parents a little bit and do my own thing. And the military was giving me an option to do that.
Yeah.
And so I already had an interest in it because of cadets and all that other stuff. So it seemed like a really logical step.
So you sort of knew that was what I had said to Ron.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because of, some people do cadets beforehand or are in the reserves, so they sort of
Yeah.
know what they're getting into, and
Yeah.
some of them don't.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you, Theo. I appreciate the time.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Welcome back, race fans. Back here at Sebring, and we never really left. You just had a more in-depth of a view of what Theo Brosma, who he is, and how he's been affected by the great folks at Operation Motorsports. And real quick, we do have something brewing on the track, so I'll kind of let Joe and Noah continue to talk about that. We'll have another interview coming up in just a short bit. So, yeah, Joe, what do you have?
Yeah, so we've been watching a lot of battles throughout the field, and we haven't really been talking about our race leader, the number 44 team, the group of them being Kurt Poulter, Matt Kalish, and Dave Hines. In the class of the field, Dave Hines, you see in the car right now, they've had a huge lead for a good while throughout the course of this event, but we've slowly been seeing the number 20 car, the Swarm Racing free entry, that BMW shared by Sean Murphy and Liam Rudzidis. Oh, probably botched his name. I'm sorry about that, Liam. We've slowly been seeing them gain time on the number 44 machine, just slowly picking into that lead. And Noah, that's the type of racing that you expect to see, just slowly picking into race leads in an endurance event like this.
Yeah, you're not really going to see too many people be able to, like you would see in maybe an oval, or like a circuit racing event on an oval, where you could see them over the course of a run really close it down there. No, with how these races go, with over about 2.5 hours remaining, you're going to see these guys little by little chomp away at that lead. Like, it closed about a second, it's about to close another second from the looks of it, because he already closes 4/10 and he's only really halfway through the lap. So he is starting to close that gap down little by little. So that's what you're going to see over the course of these 2.5 hours. He's not going to be going full out over the course of the next pit stop. No, he's going to bide his time, keep it in one piece, and then maybe by the hour mark you'll see a big difference, unless something happens that spreads these two apart. But right now, the number 20 car is really starting to find its rhythm and pick up the pace to catch up to that 44 car, who's been leading since we've really gotten to booth. He's been the leader of the whole race comfortably, and now he's seeing that lead start to evaporate, because he was running about 30 seconds for the most part.
Right, so that is definitely something we'll be watching, is that lead battle, as Noah said, cut in half, as right now race leader in that BMW CCA Club iRacing entry works his way through lap traffic. And that being said, we have another interview when we have Travis Hill into the booth. And Travis, you got me?
Yes, sir. I got you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Right on. So, first, what have you been watching the event? And if so, have you enjoyed it? And how's Tooth Autosport doing?
Good, good. I'm actually, it's funny, I'm not even driving with Tooth today. I'm running with Crashed. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to jump on as a driver with some internet issues, but I've been hanging out with Theo and Chris and spotting and just trying to get them up through the field and have some fun.
Oh, well, we just talked to Theo about his entry. So I guess what have you one quick question about them. What have you seen out of the entry? Do you think they can improve from 11th right now? There's a lot of cars on their lap.
Yeah, we had a good qualifying. I think we definitely have a top 10 car. The guys are running really well. A couple little incidents early on, like in a lot of races, but slowly pulling back up through the field. Theo just had an awesome stint. I know he doesn't, he kind of downplays a little bit of his driving at times. We were joking about it, but when you're in the seat, right, you're always thinking about the time you think you gave up. But just looking at his progression, it was an incredible stint. Very consistent, very fast. Only one incident point from a little off track. So it was really cool to see that and see that progression.
That's great to hear. Hoping the best for that number 10 team, but you are, what I have listed here is the team principal at Tooth Autosport. And that being said, I know their entry isn't your primary concern, at least right now in the race, but they're right now running 18th overall. And it's been a rough go. There's still some positions they can make up on their lap. I don't know how much you've been checking in. But if you have, what have you kind of seen out of Tooth Autosport? Any troubles or any experiences that they've been going through this race?
To be honest, I actually have not seen how that race was going with Trevor and his co-driver. I actually haven't quite been involved there. I've been focusing on our car here, just trying to focus with Theo and Chris, like I said. But a couple times that I did see they were going in and out of pit lane, so I think we'll have to see what's going on there afterwards.
All right. Another quick question. Any relation with Trevor?
Yes, we are brothers. Okay. Trevor is the driver of that car. So we both are the team principals of Tooth Autosport, the race team. Trevor will be focusing on Tooth Autosport, the sim team, today. But yeah, we are brothers. We come up through and have been working with Operation Motorsports since its inception, since we met Tiffany and Diesel. I think we were running Porsche GT3 Cup Canada and met them at the Toronto Indy. So conversations kind of grow, and it's been really nice seeing all of those beneficiaries, like we've mentioned, come up through these online series and getting more and more experience on the iRacing platform, and hopefully we can give them all a chance to start getting the experience in a real car soon.
That's great. I guess this being said, how has Tooth Autosport kind of grown being involved with Operation Motorsport?
As mentioned, we met while we were running Porsche GT3 Cup, supporting a car within another team, actually, with FAF Motorsport, the Porsche team out of Toronto area. So we met there, and as our own entity, we've grown quite a lot, actually, along with Operation Motorsport. Now we run a 4-car Audi TCR program, which runs in the Canadian Touring Car Championship, some SRO, and IMSA as well in select events as well. So hopefully once COVID clears up, we'll all be able to go racing with OpMo once again. But obviously Theo during the regular season has been running with us as one of our support engineers with the team and on those Audis. So again, as we grow, our beneficiaries are growing along with us. Operation Motorsport is clearly growing quite well, even in times of the pandemic. So hopefully we can all continue growing and get trackside together once again soon.
Oh, for sure. And I guess, yeah, it's also stated here you're a board member here at Operation Motorsport. And so I guess that being said, what impact has Operation Motorsport had on you personally? And then what is your position on that board, and how does that kind of affect the way you go about things right now?
So I'm sitting on the U.S. board as a trustee, which is fairly difficult right now when we don't get the opportunities to go and run together and do track events together. But working with Opmo over the last few years. Working with Opmo over the last few years, just trying to work on new programs, new ways to get people involved, how our race team can bring in more beneficiaries as well.
Right, and I guess that being said, what are some experiences that being a part of Opmo, I guess you remember the most? I guess interacting with the beneficiaries. I guess without getting too personal or anything, but what if some of their stories and how they kind of how have those stories impacted you, and kind of how you go about life and the appreciation maybe you have for military members and veterans.
I mean, the biggest question or the biggest story I'd have to say would be this event last year. I was fortunate enough to be able to drive the Operation Motorsport car along with Mark Pombo at Anglesey Circuit for the 12-hour. And we've worked with Operation Motorsport, as mentioned, a few years ahead of time, and seeing everybody and meeting everyone, but seeing it all come full circle there, where you took people that initially didn't have a lot of experience in motorsports, but had a lot of life experience and were able to apply it to something they enjoyed. You create that family feeling with everybody trackside and in between the races, right? It's the nights, it's the dinners, it's the planning, getting ready for it, execution during race weekends, and seeing all these guys like Theo, like Dale, Jason, come full circle, as I said, and trackside at Anglesey execute a really well-run race. Overall organization was great. Again, we on the side with Tooth Autosport, we build and run race weekends. So for us, we know what it's like, and to see them execute phenomenally like that and come away with a podium finish last year was a thrill. That was the biggest experience for me. And of course, during that Remembrance Day ceremony, being part of that group is chilling, regardless of what the background is. For us, it's motorsports, but to be standing next to servicemen and women that have participated in duty and served our country and fought and sacrificed a lot for us just to be able to enjoy motorsports, to give back to that and to be part of that has definitely changed our lives for the better.
All right, one more question. I know everything in the world's kind of on hold right now, obviously, with the situation going on. But what's the future with Operation Motorsport and the growing relationship with Tooth Autosport? How can that, I guess, be taken to another level? What's currently in the foreseeable future, whenever we can get to it?
Yeah, well, in fact, this has been great to open up iRacing as a platform and to form these relationships. It almost feels odd to say that the pandemic helped it a little bit. As a team, as a driver development program at Tooth Autosport, we use spec Miatas, Mazda Miatas, as a great learning platform and the start of our ladder system as drivers go through and learn how to race. And that's exactly what we want to do with Operation Motorsport. We have a lot of beneficiaries here that are showing a lot of ability, not only racing against each other, but against other pro drivers. And again, regardless of what class you're in and what you're doing, we'll look at the standings and see who's doing what at the end of the race. And again, as I mentioned with Theo, it's a great stint, regardless of how much experience you have, whether you're a pro coming in or beneficiary. So to see a driver like Theo, I want to get him behind the wheel of a Miata here at Calabogie, a great racetrack to learn how to race. And I want to see him do this in real life and learn these things, because the conversations we're having now on the simulator in iRacing are the exact same conversations we have when he's behind the wheel in real life, and we're trying to execute a Champ Car race at Sebring. You're managing your tires, you're managing your fuel, you're managing your position in class overall. All of these things while trying to run consistent laps and be competitive, keep the car on track, all of this stuff. So it's been a thrill to see them, and I want to see these guys doing it in real life, in a real race car. And hopefully next time we go over to Wales, it'll be a group of beneficiaries driving the car.
Right on. Yeah. So thank you very much for joining us, Travis. Of course, Travis, one of the Operation Motorsport board members and the team principal at TÜV Autosport. I know you got a lot on your plate, kind of working with one team, meanwhile also being mostly in charge of, well, partially in charge of the sim part of the TÜV Autosport entry today, but being a part of what's in charge over at TÜV Autosport. So a lot going on. So I understand your time is valuable. So thank you for joining us with your today and giving us kind of a view at what kind of goes on at a joint partnership like it is.
Thanks for having me, guys. Great job with the broadcast. It's been great watching you guys throughout the last few seasons. So good job. Let's keep going.
Right on. Thank you. And that was, of course, Travis Hill, once again, Operation Motorsport board member and team principal at TÜV Autosport. So that was kind of a weird way to find out that I of course I know that this whole thing is supposed to be about the beneficiaries and all. It was just it struck me weird when he said he wasn't working with his his TÜV Autosport entry.
Yeah, well, these guys, they all know each other, and they're all working together. Obviously, we've talked about it so many times in this event. The overarching goal and the meaning behind taking part in this event is so much more than just competing in a race car. I mean, it's for awareness, it's for knowledge, it's for sharing experiences and meeting people. Especially when we talk about the veterans and what Operation Motorsport is doing to bring people together. It's not surprising, maybe, per se. I mean, it's obviously surprising when he comes in and when we talk about his team and he's not racing with his team, but it's surprising. It's not surprising to see these guys working together in a group and knowing all of each other, going between teams, and that's really good. That's something that you don't see, obviously, in real, real true entertainment motorsports as much, but you see it with the guys who come on iRacing to have a good time and to learn, to meet people, to work with each other. So that's really important, and that's what Operation Motorsport is all about. And obviously, for everybody watching who is or is not aware of what Operation Motorsport is doing, please go check out their website. They're doing a really great thing. This charity has a great cause helping veterans. You can check them out, operationmotorsport.org. And then also, please be sure to consider donating to their cause, Operation Motorsport out here. Obviously, everything in this world needs money to function, and for what it's worth and what this cause does to help veterans overcome post-traumatic stress, to re-assimilate back into regular life, is very valuable to an entire society, and to give back to the people who put so much on the line for the rest of us going out and being part of the military. It's a noble cause, and it's a very brave thing of them to do. So obviously, on behalf of Pit Stop TV, we certainly thank them for their service. Very grateful for what they've done, and we're very proud of them for being able to accomplish that, and then to come back and to be able to put on this great show and be a part of Operation Motorsport. operationmotorsport.org/donate. Please consider going, checking them out, and donating to their worthy cause.
Absolutely. So you see right now the lead, while you're doing the interview and running through the incredible organization that is Operation Motorsports, the lead has fallen further. The last time we checked, it was at 15 seconds. He cut that in half and almost then some. It is now almost down to 5 seconds. The Rudit has really figured out his line. He is chomping away at the bits as he is about on the same straightaway as the number 44 of Heinz. So now be ready, because maybe in the next 10 minutes you can see that lead drop even further, as there's only a couple lapped cars separating the 44 from the 20. So what we've been seeing all race long, that number 44 running away with the race lead, it has now shrunk. That 30-second lead, almost a full minute lead at the longest part of the race that 44 team held on to. All the work they put into that is now gone, as that number 20 team has a fast driver behind the wheel of that machine, and they are going to run down and try and take over the overall lead here with only about 2 hours left to go.
All right, for what it's worth, we're about to switch over our production crew once again. Andrew will be taking over the helm as lead commentator and producer. Before that, we're gonna get through some of our sponsors that Joe has a couple of them ready. And Joe.
Absolutely. So we want to thank our sponsors here at Pit Stop TV, as always, for helping us put on the great shows that we can for you guys. We'll start off with Tucson Sound Art. Your picture, your music. You provide the image you want, and they create a custom, beautifully framed, high-quality canvas with a built-in Bluetooth speaker. You get the best of both worlds, having something put up on your wall, artistically speaking, and having the Bluetooth speaker conveniently located for your enjoyment of your own personal music selection. With Sound Art, you get the best of both worlds. Visit TucsonSoundArt.com for additional info on this great product. We also want to thank Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy. At Permanent Makeup and Cryo, the owner, Ashley Bullier, is a certified micropigmentation specialist. She provides professional care and safe and personalized services to you. You can contact Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine at permanentmakeupinmaine.com or call or text them at 207-358-8683. If you're looking for the best solutions for your permanent makeup concerns, give Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine a call and book your consultation today. If you visit their Facebook page, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, you can enter one of their monthly giveaways and enter it because, who knows, you might just win. Also, as a conclusion to our sponsors ourselves, we have to thank our parent organization, Whiplash Media. Whiplash Media specializes in various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing camera packs, and more. Whiplash Media is also working on its presence in real racing, offering services like photography, social media management, and public relations. Go to whiplash-media.com. Once again, www.whiplash-media.com for more information on that. And Noah, we've been watching this race lead as we got through our sponsors there. It is slowly dwindling, but we're still watching that number 44 car hold on to a great lead as we're coming up on the conclusion of our stint on the broadcast.
Yeah, we're starting to run it through to get towards the end of it, as we were getting close to going on to the next part of our broadcast here, and they're going to have an incredible time, because what we've been going through the middle portion of the race, they're going to come back to see that lead have shrunk massively, and now the 44 has to go in full attack mode to try and keep a hold of that lead, to keep the momentum from the 20 from being able to pass them. Back there in third still, the number 70 Rocket Surgeon Racing of Paul Lindsay. Running back there in the fourth position is Dean Cox, and the number 5 Fission Sim Racing. And then rounding out the top 5 is the number 78 Whiplash Racing Purple Team of David Levine. That is your top 5. He runs a minute and 5 seconds back from your overall leader, as he makes his way now through turns 3, 4, 5 as he gets ready for the run up to the hairpin.
Right, so all the action here at Sebring continues on the third part of our broadcast today. Make sure you stick with us on Pit Stop TV for the conclusion of today's iRace Remembrance 6-hour event at Sebring. Again, I'm Emerson Arden with Noah Carmichael, Joe Donahue, and Trey Shuttlesworth continuing the great work on social media. Don't go away. We will for a split second, and then join us on our third part of our broadcast.